Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. When we think about how we make decisions, it often feels like we're in full control, rational, logical, carefully weighing the pros and cons. But in his groundbreaking book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, Nobel Prize, winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman shows us a very different reality. Our minds, he explains, operate through two distinct systems of thought, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. System 1 and System 2. Kahneman describes a mind as divided into two modes of thinking. System 1 is fast, automatic, intuitive, and emotional. It's always running in the background, helping us make split-second judgments. It's the system you rely on when you recognize a familiar face, instantly understand the meaning of a simple phrase, or slam on the brakes when a car suddenly cuts in front of you. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, deliberate, and logical. It's the system we call upon when solving a complex math problem, planning a trip, or carefully comparing financial options. System 2 is more accurate, but also lazy. It only engages when System 1 can't handle the task on its own. For example, if I ask you what's 2 plus 2, the answer comes instantly, 4. That's System 1 in action. But if I ask you what's 17 times 24, chances are you'll pause, maybe grab a pen and paper, or reach for your calculator. That's when System 2 steps in. The fascinating thing is that in our daily lives, we rely far more on System 1 than System 2. That makes us efficient, but also vulnerable to systematic mistakes. Heuristics and cognitive biases. System 1 often uses shortcuts to save time and energy. These shortcuts, called heuristics, are useful most of the time, but they can also lead us into predictable errors known as cognitive biases. Take the availability heuristic. For instance, imagine you just watched the news filled with stories of airplane crashes. Even though flying is statistically much safer than driving, you might suddenly feel uneasy about your next flight. Why? Because vivid and recent examples come to mind more easily, tricking you into thinking the risk is higher than it really is. Another example is the representativeness heuristic. Suppose I describe someone as quiet, meticulous, and good with numbers. If I ask whether this person is more likely to be a librarian or a farmer, most people would pick librarian. But statistically, there are far more farmers than librarians. Our brains get fooled by stereotypes, ignoring the base rates. And then there's the anchoring effect. Imagine a shirt is labeled at $500, but today it's on sale for $250. You might feel like you're getting an amazing deal, but if the shirt had simply been priced at $250 from the start, you'd probably think it's expensive. That initial number, the anchor, shapes how we perceive value, even when it's arbitrary. These mental shortcuts are part of what makes us human, but they also explain why we often make decisions that don't quite line up with reality. The problem of overconfidence. Another powerful theme in Kahneman's book is overconfidence. We tend to overestimate the accuracy of our own judgments and predictions. Think about the stock market. Financial experts often make bold predictions with great certainty. Yet, research shows that their forecasts frequently perform no better than random guesses. Despite this, people continue to trust their confidence more than they should. This overconfidence also plays out in everyday life. How many times have you been sure you could finish a project in a week, only to take twice as long? Kahneman calls this the planning fallacy. Our tendency to underestimate time, costs, and risks while overestimating our abilities. Loss aversion. One of the most influential discoveries from Kahneman's research is the concept of loss aversion. Simply put, losses hurt us more than equivalent gains please us. If you gain $100, you'll feel happy. But if you lose $100, the pain will be much sharper, often about twice as strong. This asymmetry shapes our financial decisions, negotiations, and even personal choices. It's why investors hold on to losing stocks for too long, hoping they'll bounce back. It's why gamblers often chase their losses, trying to recover rather than walking away. Loss aversion makes us risk-averse when it comes to gains and risk-seeking when we're facing losses. Prospect theory. This idea feeds directly into Kahneman and his collaborator Amos Tversky's prospect theory, which challenged the traditional economic view that humans are rational decision-makers always seeking to maximize gains. Instead, prospect theory shows that we judge outcomes relative to a reference point, not in absolute terms, and losses loom larger than gains. Here's an example. Imagine you win $1,000. Feels good, right? Now imagine a different scenario. You win $2,000, but then lose $1,000, ending up with the same $1,000 net gain. Rationally, the two outcomes are identical, but emotionally, the second feels much worse because of that painful loss. This simple truth has massive implications, not just in economics, but in how we navigate risk and reward in everyday life. The framing effect. Another fascinating concept is the framing effect, the idea that the way information is presented dramatically influences our decisions. In one study, doctors were told about a treatment with a 90% survival rate. Most recommended it to patients. But when the same treatment was described as having a 10% mortality rate, many became hesitant. The numbers are identical, but the framing completely changes the reaction. Marketers, politicians, and media outlets know this all too well. That's why wording and presentation are carefully designed to guide our choices, without us even realizing it. The illusion of validity and the power of stories. Humans are natural storytellers. We crave coherence, even when the data is incomplete. This leads to what Kahneman calls the illusion of validity, the belief that our judgments or predictions are more reliable than they really are. Take job interviews as an example. Many hiring managers believe they can gauge a candidate's potential within the first few minutes. Yet research shows that structured evaluations and objective data are far more predictive of performance than gut feelings from a short conversation. Still, we trust the story our intuition creates. The experiencing self versus the remembering self. One of the most profound insights in thinking, fast and slow, is the distinction between the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self lives in the moment. The remembering self, however, tells the story of the experience afterward, and it's this version of ourselves that shapes future choices. For example, imagine you take a 10-day vacation filled with joy, relaxation, and adventure. But on the very last day, something terrible happens. You lose your luggage or miss your flight home. Despite 9 amazing days, your memory of the trip may feel tarnished. The remembering self weighs the peak moments and the ending more heavily than the overall experience. This explains why people sometimes return to experiences that weren't objectively great. It's not the reality of what they lived through. It's the memory their mind constructed. Behavioral economics. Kahneman's work, together with Amos Tversky, gave birth to the field of behavioral economics. Before them, economics assumed humans were rational agents. But research proved otherwise. We're influenced by biases, emotions, and flawed perceptions. These insights have reshaped public policy, business strategy, and even healthcare. Governments now use nudge theory to encourage better choices, like making organ donation the default option or automatically enrolling people in retirement savings plans. By designing decisions in smarter ways, society can help individuals make choices that align better with their long-term interests. Wrapping it all together, Thinking, Fast and Slow is not just a book about psychology. It's a mirror reflecting the hidden forces guiding our lives. It shows us that while our intuition is powerful, it's also fallible. That our memories don't always match our lived experiences. That the way information is framed can change our choices. And that even experts are prone to the same biases as everyone else. But this isn't a reason for despair. It's an invitation to awareness. By recognizing when our System 1 is leading us astray, we can deliberately engage our System 2. By understanding loss aversion, we can make wiser financial decisions. By questioning the framing of information, we can think more critically. Ultimately, Kahneman teaches us that being human means embracing our cognitive imperfections, while also learning to work around them. So the next time you find yourself hesitating, overconfident, or swayed by the way something is presented, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this my fast mind reacting or my slow mind reflecting? And that awareness, simple as it sounds, can change the way you live, decide, and understand the world around you. If you enjoyed this exploration of Daniel Kahneman's thinking, fast and slow, don't forget to support us here on The Healing Vibe. Subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who loves deep insights into the human mind. Together, let's keep learning, growing, and healing one idea at a time.